This is what the mainstream media wants you to see.
Una muñequita igual que estas.
And they want to pull on your heartstrings. But here's what the mainstream media won't show you.
Caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up. Migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S. Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true.
But
they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that. They're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Jim Acosta's statement to Trump that the migrant caravan is not an invading army and that he shouldn't have labeled it as such didn't really quite age well, did it? Even this MSNBC correspondent couldn't quite hide the obvious that it was mostly men.
From what we've seen, the majority are actually men, and some of these men have not articulated that need for asylum. Instead, they have talked about, going to the United States for a better life and to find work.
So here's the real question. Are you ready for 2.5 million men showing up at the U.S. southern border?
Our intel is that there's millions coming. That's our intel.
This is just the Vanguard test for PR. Because when the real group of, hundreds of thousands of males at a time hit, it's going to be very violent. This was an old plan of the Weathermen. If they could make Latin America go communist, they were going to then build refugee camps after they collapsed the countries under communism, which they've now done, like Venezuela, and then rush the U.S. border and use the humanitarian crisis, claiming the U.S. military was abusing the invaders, and then they think that will cause an uprising and a civil rights revolution in America. Well, you now see all that pre-programming ready.
Here's what we do know about the men that are in this caravan. They're willing to throw softball-sized rocks at Border Patrol. They're willing to throw back tear gas canisters and engage in violence with the Border Patrol. They're also willing to storm and tear and rip down gates on our U.S. border. Does this seem like the kind of people that are going to make our country a better and safer place? Here's video footage of a Mexican federale. He pointed out that the cowardly men leading the migrant caravan were convincing some of the families that traveled with them to use their children as human shields and put them at the front of the line as the caravan stormed the U.S. border.
Si ustedes le hacen caso de mandar a sus hijos por enfrente, usted lo va a tener en la conciencia si les pasa algo a los niños. Ellos no tienen nada de culpa. La corriente a este señor y al otro que está ahí. Porque los que van a pasar, los que vayan, les puede pasar algo y aparte menos van a cruzar a Estados Unidos. Los que se queden aquí son los que van a tener más posibilidades de pasar.
This video documents that the men leading the migrant caravan had essentially plotted to storm the U.S. southern border and escalate violence between Border Patrol, and then use the children who were in the migrant caravan as human shields so that they can either prevent the Border Patrol from being able to neutralize them and stop them, or to be able to use them as a media ploy.
Estos líderes nomás están arriesgando que su familia les pase algo.
And unfortunately, it looks like some of these parents disregarded their children's safety and allowed them to be exploited by this migrant caravan and essentially used as human shields. This Thanksgiving weekend, it dawned on me as I was sitting there watching the footage of the recent Black Friday chaos. I then saw a striking resemblance. What does this and this have in common? The Democrats are routinely advertising to this migrant caravan that they are going to have sanctuary cities.
In Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti has instructed police not to enforce immigration laws.
Free health care for illegal immigrants.
Gavin Newsom, the Democrat nominee for governor, who was mayor of San Francisco, brought universal, i.e. free health care to illegals in San Francisco. He wants to do this for the state.
tons of resources for them.
And why that's important? Because it gives leverage to every family, to every mom who courageously brought her child across the desert.
Welfare, food stamps, housing.
Let me be clear. We will defend everybody, every man, woman, and child who's come here for a better life and has contributed to the well-being of our state.
So is there any wonder that they're lining up at the U.S. border? There's nothing wrong with wanting a better lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with wanting a better job. However, there is something wrong with thinking that you're going to storm our borders and that we're just going to let you in and let you cut in line, essentially, in front of all the law-abiding people that are trying to legally immigrate into the United States. Americans should be taking care of our homeless veteran population, our homeless American population, and our Americans who are in need first, before we're bringing in more people from other countries to then take on that responsibility.
The future is now.
They had us as #1 on Droid, #3 on Apple. Then we went back to get screenshots because our numbers showed us #1, and we're gone.
How did you decide to ban Alex Jones?
What users want from us, and what we've always provided them, is a curated platform. If you're going to curate, that should be all.
Let me tell Tim Cook something. We're watching you and what you're doing.
InfoWars is steps ahead of the globalists and their censorship agenda.
Getting ready to launch the next few months new apps.
InfoWars APK, where you can directly download the InfoWars app to Android and iOS devices.
Restrictions disabled. You can now activate and transmit Alex Jones to AirPlay or Chromecast.
Big tech with China and the EU are making their move against what's left of the free world.
Circumvent the globalist attempts to restrict your access to tomorrow's news today.
InfoWars APK.